I screwed that up again. Damn it. Tom here. Send him attacks. I'm trying a solo stream and maybe a series that I'm going to call Video Arcane, which is generally going to be a physical media related stream. So, like, get into detail about certain releases or formats or some other topic. James. Oh, I saw that come up on my YouTube feed. I haven't watched it yet. I saw one of them was wearing a Crash shirt, I noticed. So I have to check that out. Um, and for that intro, that was the most metal song they had when I was making the intro in the, like the open source stuff that they have of music. So pretty posery, but that's all I have access to, unfortunately. I have the air turned off because I thought the fan was too loud, but it's getting sweaty. So I think I'm gonna turn it on, and let me know what you think, James. Is that too loud? The fan? Anyways, so I'm gonna break down the Day of the Dead 4K, the controversial release that people have been talking about, the different audio tracks. I finally went through and was able to watch it with all the different audio tracks, and so I'll break that whole situation down. Then I have a few thoughts that I haven't seen expressed by other people. Um, okay. If someone complains, I can turn it off, but it's so humid up here. It's just like the sweating really bothers me. I got some Dunkin'. I'm a coffee connoisseur. I have an espresso machine. I have a French press, and yet I go to Dunkin' Donuts. Go figure. And also I have some links if you want to follow me on Instagram or Letterbox. I have to update my Letterbox. Basically, I've been rating new movies I've been seeing, but I haven't done reviews for all of them yet. So I need to get on that. And also, if you want to email me for some ungodly reason. Um, well, it's quick. And also, like, near me, my Starbucks is like one of the worst Starbucks ever, to where it's like a 50-50 shot if you're actually going to get your drink that you ordered. So sometimes if I'm in a rush, I'll just go to Dunkin' Donuts because at least they know, like, if you order a coffee that they should give you a coffee. Like, it's pretty simple. Uh, okay, so I thoroughly explored this entire, and Eli's here. It has some numbers next to your name, Eli. I don't know what that means, but Restream has changed yet again because the comments look different. Okay. So this was the original advertisement of Shout/Scream Factory's Day of the Dead 4K release. And they advertise original dual mono audio, if you see there at the bottom. So this will come into play later. And there was a pretty good review of the disc by in this website called Digital Bits, and then they mentioned there's 6 places where the dialogue or sound effects were overdubbed. And this middle section here is all the different 6 occurrences. So there were 3 lines that were swear words that were dubbed over by different actors, and then there were 2 lines that were dubbed over by different actors, but they just said the same thing. And then there was another one where part of a gunshot was missing and a scream was missing. And if we go to I'll talk about this later. So I have a clip that shows the actual changes.
This is bullshit what we're doing here. It's crazy. This is bullshit what we're doing here.
It's crazy.
Shit. I could do that even if all this wasn't going on.
Right.
I could do that even if all this wasn't going on.
I'll shoot him myself.
It's the spick.
I'll shoot him myself.
It's the spick.
Oh, Jesus, you can't. I can't look. Can't.
The first issue is
Okay, so you saw all 6 examples, and so 4 of them. Well, I'll get into that later. So, and then I'll play these clips from one of the reviews. This is Pizzal on YouTube, which I frequently watch. He's a pretty good reviewer, or talks about a lot of horror stuff too, horror movies.
the first issue is everybody's calling it a censored version or a censored audio track. That is totally misleading. There are, according to the Blu-ray.com forums, 6 instances where dialogue has been altered. And that leads to my second issue. This was promoted as having the original audio. Did they not know, messed up, and put the altered audio in it, or were they deceiving us? So either it's a massive oversight and a goof on their part, or they deceived us.
Okay, so to address those 2 points, the first one is that yes, in 4 of the cases, it was censored, and I'll talk about that a little more when I talk about the Laserdisc audio. So it's not a case where the entire movie was censored like it was a TV cut, but in 4 of the cases, I would say it was censored because there's a scream missing, shit is censored, and then Jesus is censored twice. So, and I've saw other reviewers saying that it wasn't censored, but to be correct, I would say it's partially censored in 4 instances. And then his second point, this is sort of complicated to explain, but you have to sort of read between the lines. But in their advertisement, they advertised the original mono mix, and he was basically saying if they had the original track, then that, the track they used was, they accidentally used the wrong track, basically. And if they had used the right track, then that advertisement would be correct. But that's not correct. Because basically they advertised the original audio, but mono mix, but on the disc, the mono mix that they use is a remix. So even if they had those correct lines of dialogue, it would still be false advertising because it's a remix. Does that make sense? And this was a point that people were confused about. And I saw some other comments and reviews. So they did, in fact, Shout Factory misrepresent in their advertisement that they're including the original mono mix. So that's the original US theatrical mix that George Romero signed off on when they finished the movie. It's not on the disc, and they did not intend to have it on the disc. There was no attempt to have it on the disc. And they when they put it out on Blu-ray, it is on this Blu-ray though, so it's not like it's gone the way of the dodo bird or anything. Oh, and then the so people were talking about the track was censored, and the Shout Factory producer Jeff Rowland chimed in, and this is a hoot. Let's see here. His response on Blue Sky. Someone on Blu-ray.com decided to start a ridiculous rumor that we use censored audio on our release, and it's starting to spread. No, we effing did not, and F the person who started this. Jesus Christ, I hate that I even had to effing say this. Mother effer. I'm trying to be PG here for the sensitive ears. This is quite the flex over there on Blue Sky. I didn't know Blue Sky was such a rough and tumble place that you can throw around MFers, and but I've never had a Blue Sky account. But he is dead ass wrong, because in 4 of the cases it is censored, and then in 2 other cases it's someone else overdubbing a line of dialogue. That's not, and it's not supposed to be that way. And famously, the that track that they used for this 4K was also featured on one of the Day of the Dead DVD releases by Anchor Bay. So this was something like, at least on the internet, people were complaining about these 6 areas where the track was wrong. And on the documentary on the disc, so there's like big mystery of like how this could have happened. If you look at the documentary, they show the print they used, and it clearly says Anchor Bay. So they got the print from Anchor Bay that Anchor Bay used for the incorrect audio track. So anybody that knows what they're talking about, a producer, they should maybe check to see, considering the Anchor Bay release had the wrong audio track, to make sure that they don't accidentally include the wrong audio track. Pretty simple. And then I have a theory as to where this Anchor Bay audio track was sourced from. I'll discuss that later, and that also ties into the laser discs. Yeah, and that ties into the laser disc. We'll talk about that in a second. All right. So we'll get into the actual audio tracks that are on the release. Hold on a second. Okay, so it has an Atmos remix, and that uses the altered audio track. And the other thing that, well, like if I was doing quality control on this disc, I would assume that the dialogue track is 3 dB quieter than it's supposed to be. And I'm not gonna, it's sort of complicated to explain why, but I've done a lot of dialogue editing professionally. There's a thing where you can accidentally have your dialogue 3 dB louder or quieter than it's supposed to be based on different settings. It's something that you can accidentally do. I think I've done it once. But to me, I would categorize the Atmos track as botched in terms of the mix, or I would guess that it is. The dialogue was supposed to be 3 dB louder, on top of the 6 instances of censored audio or altered audio, whatever. But that otherwise the 5.1 and dual mono mixes, I would assume mix downs of the Atmos track, and they also have the altered audio track, but they otherwise seem fine to me. And then there's something called the Laserdisc track. And then if you go, this is another review on YouTube. This is Twin Flicks. Excuse me. At the bottom there, he says, the Laserdisc audio track on the 4K is the complete, unedited, original theatrical mono mix. It's the 3 other tracks that had been remastered that used inferior masters. So the Laserdisc audio track does have the right dialogue and sound effects, like on the Shout Factory Blu-ray, but it is not the original theatrical mono mix. And this is another thing I've seen on the internet, people saying what that Laserdisc is actually, the Laserdisc track is it's taken from this Japanese Laserdisc, and it's the Japanese theatrical stereophonic remix. And this Laserdisc is released by Toho Kashinsha Home Video. I think I screwed that up. It's an analog track instead of not a digital track, because Laserdiscs can have both analog or digital tracks. And it was advertised as zombing sound. So this is from the Japanese theatrical trailer. And basically what it is they took the mono track and doubled it. And then in order to create like a fake stereo track, they pan from left to right. And you can notice this at certain moments, especially like there's one where Flyboy, he throws his machete across the screen. So what they do is like pan from right to left as he's throwing the machete. So it's a way of like when you have, it's like an outdated way where if you had a mono track, you could turn it into stereo by panning left or right. And this track otherwise is just from a sound quality perspective is not that good. It's like a pretty low, it's pretty bassless and thin. And the other thing is that it's also missing the vocals for the end credit song. Zombing sound. But there is another Japanese Laserdisc released by JVD. And if you go in the description of it, it says this version is severely cut. All the gore is missing and the swearing is dubbed over. There's laughably bad dubbing, uses voices that don't match, etc. So what I think happened with the Anchor Bay version, that the audio track that was used for this Shout Factory 4K and the old Anchor Bay DVD, is that they had damaged portions in the audio track. And then what they did is whatever source they used for this Laserdisc, the second Japanese Laserdisc, they just took pieces of that and splice it in basically to stitch together a full audio track. So that's what, I don't know that for a fact, but that would be my guess as to what happened. That's the only thing that really makes any sense to me. So that's why that part of the gunshot and the scream are missing, because that there was a gore effect during that little piece, which was not present on this version of the movie. So there was no sound to steal from, basically. And there's someone on the internet, Mr. Mancini here. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but basically he says that someone actually, because one of the issues that people complained about with the old Blu-ray was that there was a sibilance on the audio track. But this is something a skilled audio engineer can fix. And then this guy talks about, like, he had a friend that actually fixed the audio track and was negotiating a deal for Shout Factory to use it, but then they refused because they wanted to do their own audio restoration and then fucked it up. So that's another point in terms of, like, people that audio track, they could have just taken that audio track from the earlier Blu-ray and fixed it and used that as the source. And and then so the other thing is, like, people were asking if they're going to get replacement discs, like, are they going to fix it and all this kind of thing. But if people aren't aware, Shout Factory was sold to a private equity firm called Oak Tree Capital in 2023, and this is from their website. Our equity strategies focus on a broad range of regions and market sectors across traditional private equity, special situation opportunities, and listed equities. This is basically like who's running the money over at Shout Factory now. So these people don't give a flying fuck about George Romero or Day of the Dead or anything like that. So I think there's about a 0% chance that they're going to fix it and send replacement discs. But I shall say that Second Sight UK is apparently going to release their own 4K. So I'm pretty sure they're not going to fuck it up, especially after all of the hubbub on the internet about this. And I watched it with the Laserdisc audio. And I will say, if you have the ability to do this depending on your audio setup, if you what I did was I kind of jacked up the volume a little bit, and then I did +5 on the bass and -5 on treble and set it like that, and it sounded okay. So if you already have that disc, that's what I would recommend, or whatever the equivalent is, if you're able to do that, depending on what your audio setup is. I would do that. So it's not like the end of the world, but the entire point and, like, why I wanted to look at this and discuss it is that, to me, if you're restoring a movie, the whole point is you have an artist, in this case, let's say George Romero and his team. They made a piece of art, but guts getting ripped out, but nevertheless a piece of art. And it's sort of, you're in charge of sort of maintaining the artistic integrity of what they wanted to achieve. So, and part of that is the audio. and this is kind of twofold, but A, you want to at least, if possible, have the original theatrical mix on the disc. And you can say, this is how they presented the movie when it came out, and this is what George Romero signed off on. And the other part of that is we start getting into remixing and all this other stuff. You know, it can and has many times been fucked up, or there's a lot of creative decisions that are made that are shaky. And if you at least have the original audio mix, you can always just use that and then just ignore any remixes. So if they just put the original audio mix from this disc on there, you would have George Romero's original audio, theatrical audio that he signed off on. And then a lot of people would just ignore the remixes because those three remixes were fucked up. So it really achieved two goals. So that was like the main point of this whole exercise, I guess. And just my theory on where that Anchor Bay audio came from. And just to clarify a few things. So oh yes, rest in power. And his wife just recently passed away. I want to say a couple of weeks ago, Christine Romero. So I think she worked on casting on this movie. Well, you gotta have people that know what they're doing. That's all. Yeah, the remixes of albums. In some cases, they include the original. I remember the Edge of Sanity remixes, like they include 2 discs. But it's a lot easier with movies because you can just throw on an extra audio track. Whereas if it's an album, you have to include another LP or another CD. Oh yeah, I haven't seen this, but was it you that talked about this, or someone else did? Queens of the Dead. But I have not seen this yet. All right. So another topic I wanted to discuss was I finally saw Citizen Vigilante, and I've been seeing everywhere that people were saying it's banned, and I looked into it, and it, in fact, has never been banned in Germany. So I was going to bring up, it definitely not banned by Hollywood. I saw that as well. I don't know about other countries, but that lots of people have been saying that Germany banned it, but it has not been banned. So we'll look at an article. Oh, this is covering the piece of shit. Okay, here we go. So this first one is from the European Conservative a few days ago, or no, it's a week ago, I think. And basically, the German film classification body granted an 18 rating to Citizen Vigilante. This is for a theatrical release, and the decision marks a significant victory for the polarizing director, following 2 consecutive instances where the board completely rejected the film's classification. While the new ruling clears a path for the movie to be legally and widely screened in German cinemas, the FSK specified that this approval currently applies strictly to theatrical releases, leaving its digital future on streaming platforms uncertain. So basically, in Germany, there's two different classifications. There's one for home video and then one for theatrical. And then Citizen Vigilante was in the process of getting a rating for theatrical. And they sort of went back and forth, and they ended up with an 18 rating, which just means you have to be 18 or older to see it. And I'll skip down to the bottom paragraph. The FSK's initial double refusal stemmed from severe concerns regarding the movie's thematic elements, with the panel citing a heavy risk to minors, potential glorification of violence, and the dangerous cinematic establishment of vigilante justice. Legally, the lack of an FSK rating did not technically ban the movie in Germany, meaning courageous theater owners could have screened it anyway. However, doing so would have forced individual cinemas to carry the immense legal and financial risk of prosecution. Yeah, so well, I'll talk about a little bit more about that later. But if it doesn't get an 18 rating, that does not mean that it's banned. And then at the top here, after a title has received a rating for a cinematic release, the FSK must approve the rating again for a home entertainment release. Some titles, therefore, have different FSK certificates for the cinematic release and for the DVD release. Usually, the FSK applies stricter rules to the home releases, and therefore, sometimes the distributors have to release a tamed down version. And then, so basically, it's now in the Citizen Vigilante is now in the process of getting certification for home video and streaming in Germany. And if it's denied an 18 rating, that doesn't mean that it's banned. Basically, there's two other for a movie that's denied an 18 or a certificate from the FSK board. The normal way movies are rated. There's two other ratings that a movie can have. One is called SPIO JK, no serious harm to young persons. And then the second one is SPIO JK, criminally inoffensive. And then also there's something called the index, which is sort of like a blacklist. Oh, I think it said that in the other. Where is it? Oh, yeah. And a movie on the index cannot be advertised and may only be sold on request by persons age 18 or older, and they may not air on TV. So, but basically, if Citizen Vigilante does not get an 18 rating, it can does not qualify for it. It can get one of these two ratings, and or be put on the index, which is, like I said, sort of a blacklist. And in addition to that, it can be banned by the German government. But those are separate things. So basically, if it does not qualify for an 18 rating for home video and streaming, it puts it in danger of possibly being banned at some point. And there have been movies that have been banned in Germany. I know the Hostel 2, the unrated version, was banned in Germany for a while, but I think maybe 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, they lifted the ban. So there are movies in Germany that have been banned and are banned. So Cannibal Holocaust is probably banned in Germany. But that's separate from, there's, the FSK rating, and then the SPIOJK, which is even more restrictive, and then the index, which is also even more restrictive. So it can get to a point where it's sort of like pornography in the US. Where you're not going to see, well, not that Best Buy even sells physical media anymore, but when they would have DVDs on the end caps and in front, they're not going to put porn there, So it is on the table that it can eventually be banned for streaming and for home video, Blu-ray, DVD. But it has not happened yet. And it has been approved for theatrical release. So don't let anyone tell you that it's been banned. Yes, it is Tommy Robinson's wet dream. Exactly. Yeah, and I think Uwe Ball kind of is partially to blame, because he basically was saying like they're trying to ban it in Germany. And what they were trying to do was, or like if it had not gotten an 18 rating for theatrical, then it would have been restricted, but you could still screen it in theaters. But then a lot of theaters would not have screened it, basically. But this is not something I'm an expert on. This is just something I've been reading about. Yeah, and the other part of that is that it became a Streisand effect, where people thought it was banned, so they wanted to see it. And it kind of worked on me and to an extent, but then I looked into it and it's not actually banned. But Hostel 2, the unrated version, was in fact banned for several years in Germany. So Eli Roth is a dangerous, dangerous man. All right. Yeah, and the other thing is, without all this controversy, like how many theaters in Germany were going to screen Citizen Vigilante? I don't know. Oh, God. All right. So one last thing I wanted to talk about is Mario Bava's Black Sunday, 1960. Hold on. Famously, there's two versions of the movie. There's the original Italian version, sometimes called the international version. And this is the one I most commonly have seen. Where's the... Did I forget the slideshow? Oh, fuck. All right. That's all right. Well, I have a clip. Okay. So the international version, and then there's the US or AIP version of Black Sunday. And so whenever you hear people talk about different versions, it's always these two. But I have an actual third version that I've never really heard anyone else talk about. And this is, I've read about Italian horror movies on the internet since the late 90s, probably. And it is this VHS version from Sinister Cinema. There we go. And it's like a weird hybrid version between the two. So mainly the yeah, you're not the only one. Well, and also they were not called that in Italy originally. So Black Sabbath was Three Faces of Fear, and Black Sunday was the Mask of Satan. And then so the reason why they called it Black Sabbath was because Black Sunday was a bit of a hit, so they wanted like a similar name. So basically the American International version, they cut out about 3 minutes of the movie, and it's mainly dialogue and some stuff that was considered risque. So there's like blood squirting out of the mask when she gets the mask on that they cut out, and there's Kuvayan kissing the corpse of Asa, and then this when Kuvayan gets his eye stabbed, and then when Katya passes out, when her father, his corpse comes alive, they cut that out. So like it's kind of weird because she's looking at the corpse and his corpse comes out, and they cut away to something, cut back, and she's just lying down. But apparently it was like too upsetting to see someone faint. I don't know. And also Vida, his corpse burning, they cut some of that out. And then the rest of it is dialogue. And then where is it? Yeah, the other thing is that they did a different score by Lex Baxter. Or is it Les Baxter? I can't remember. I would say in the I don't have the composer. The original Italian score is a lot more romantic, and then the U.S. score is more kind of bombastic and more like a conventional horror score. But like usually, I've seen the Italian version, so I always imagine it with that score and the sort of romantic theme. And yeah, the other part of it is that they did a different English dub. So in the international version, there's an English dub that they did in Italy, and then when they brought it to the U.S., they did a new dub in the U.S. With different actors. And another thing they also changed with the dubbing is there was sort of like an incest kind of angle in the original version that they took out when they dubbed it in the U.S. So anyways, this third version, it has most of the cuts from the U.S. version, but it has the Italian score and the English dubbing it did in Italy. Except that the opening credits and the end credits they're spliced in from the Italian version, and also there's a maybe 2-minute dialogue scene in the garden with Barbara Steele and what's his face? Oh yeah, with Andre and Katya, and it's sort of spliced into this version. So I'll play that so you can just see how it's kind of spliced in.
cut yet.
There you go. And I'm not going to play it because of copyright. Yeah, so it's a weird hybrid. So it has the score of the Italian version, the dubbing of the Italian version, the edits of the U.S. version, except it adds in that garden scene that's only in the Italian version. Did that make sense? So I guess this is like the Sinister Cinema version, is what this is. But overall, after I rewatched all three of these over the past week, I still think the original Italian version is the best version. But sort of a curio when I was going through my VHS tapes. Basically, excuse me. The first official VHS tape version was the Italian version in the late 90s by Image Entertainment. But like basically in the 80s and 90s, you had gray market companies release versions. So Sinister Cinema, this is the Sinister Cinema one, and I think Something Weird had their own version of Black Sunday. But I just thought it was interesting. The Sinister Cinema has their own cut of the movie. So, I think that's about it. That went faster than I thought it would. Oh, well, that's fine. Oh, I can show off. Oh, I was gonna play this after when I'm done, but imprecation. And then what's his face? Browning from Nocturnus just passed away. I don't have the those Nocturnus albums on vinyl though. Oh yeah, that's right. Texas Boys. Well, I'm still working on the format, so because I had a lot of topics I wanted to cover. People ask me questions about technical stuff. So one thing I wanted to cover that somebody had asked, there's sort of a controversy, not a real controversy, but an invented controversy about the what the aspect ratio is supposed to be of Eyes Wide Shut and The Shining and Full Metal Jacket. And part of that came up with Criterion announced the Stanley Kubrick box set coming out. That's what's coming out in a few months, I think, maybe 3 months. So maybe I'll do it around then. Oh. And then I've been, I had got that Jackie Chan box set, but I still have a ways to go to get through it all. So that's another thing I can talk about. But yeah, that's my plan, is mainly talk about physical media. And also I have laser discs I can show off. Yeah, no one got eaten. My mic was working. because the last stream I didn't have the settings right on the mic, so I think it was using the webcam mic. Ugh. Drank too much coffee like usual. All right. I thought that would take 90 minutes, so I did not time that out very well, but that's okay. Yeah, we sort of talked about this last show, but I already have all the 4Ks except for Fear and Desire, and I don't even like that movie. That's his first movie. And then the only other one I don't have is Lolita, and I'm not a big fan of Lolita either. So it's like I already have the 4Ks. I would like, to see the extras and the. I've never actually seen the UK version of The Shining. I guess because I never think of The Shining. I never think of wanting it to be 20 minutes shorter. Like, to me, it's perfect the way it is. So I've never really wanted to seek out the shorter version. But yeah, I'm not getting it. 'Cause I already have almost all the 4Ks. So from different companies, a few of them from Kino, a few from Criterion, a few from Warner Brothers. Clay, what's up? Inner Space. I've not seen that in so long, but I used to love that movie so much as a kid. Yeah, I've heard people say that Lolita was their favorite Kubrick movie, but I'm definitely not one of those people. Um, all right, I think I I got my big arrow that thing, the Jackie Chan set, so that's going to keep me occupied. Um, all right. Thank you, everyone, for responding and watching. This is sort of a test run, so I'll regroup and come up with some other topics and physical media topics and show off some physical media for next time. So I'll figure that out. I had some images for Black Sunday that I must not have uploaded them, but oh well, that's okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome week. So we'll be live again with Eli. I'll be live again with Eli and Scott Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be talking about Rampage 3, the Uwe Ball movie. And because he goes after the president, and I just had to see what this was. So there you go. Thank you, James. All right. Have an awesome night and